All right, guys. So this week, everything that we're going to be doing is a review of different topics that we've covered throughout the year. And the first lesson is evaluating expressions. And the reason why these topics that we're going to cover this week have been chosen is because these are the ones that you're most likely to need in geometry or in AFDA as you move on next year in math. So we're starting with evaluating expressions. So you're going to see problems like this, and your classwork is going to look a lot like this. So you'll be told let x equal a value, y equal a value, and z equal a value, and then it's going to ask you to evaluate a certain expression. And remember, we call this an expression because there is no equal sign. So unless we are given these values for x, y, and z, we wouldn't be able to find a value, a simplified value for the expression. All right, so we know that x is 2, y is 3, and z is negative 4. So everywhere I see those variables in this expression, I'm going to replace them with the numbers that I've been given. And again, we can only do this because part of the problem gives us those values. This isn't something that we could solve by itself. We have to be given the values. So x is 2, so where I see the x, I'm going to write a 2. Y is 3, so where I see the y, I'm going to write a 3. And z is negative 4, so where I see the z, I'm going to write a negative 4. Now the order of operations tells me that I'm just going to add and subtract as I move from left to right. So 2 plus 3 is 5 plus negative 4. 5 plus negative 4 is 1. So my answer to this one would be 1. In our second example, we still have the same x, y, and z values, but I've given you a new expression to evaluate. So since I've been given values, I can plug them into this algebraic expression and I can figure out what it is equivalent to. So where I see an x, I want to write a 2. Where I see a y, I want to write a 3. And yz is the same thing as y times z. So I'm going to be multiplying these two values together. And z is negative 4. Right, so the order of operations tells me that I'm going to multiply before I can add. So 3 times negative 4 is negative 12. And 2 minus 12, or I could think of it as 2 plus negative 12, they're equivalent, is negative 10. So that would be my answer here. So when you're doing your classwork today, you want to make sure that you read each problem and be real careful that you're plugging in your x, y, and z values into the correct places in the expression. Then you're going to make sure you're following the order of operations until you get your answer. So if this was the problem that you were given on your assignment, you would type negative 10 into the box below the problem. And if that was the correct answer, the box will turn yellow. If we made a mistake in our calculations and we got a positive 10 and typed that in, the box would stay white. It wouldn't turn yellow. And that would give us a clue that we need to go back and check our work and be like, oh, I subtracted wrong. This is negative. So once I add that negative sign, my box should turn yellow and I can move on to the next problem. So don't move on until you've gotten a yellow box telling you that you've gotten the correct answer. And that's another thing that I wanted to review very quickly is the order of operations. If you remember, the first step is always grouping symbols. So G, and this is for grouping symbols. Parentheses, can't spell apparently. Grouping symbols. So this would be parentheses, anything underneath a square root. If you had a fraction, it would mean that you need to simplify everything that's in the numerator or in the denominator before you do any division. Next is exponents. After exponents, we have multiply and, I'm having a hard time writing, multiply and divide. So we do multiplication and division. They're the same ranking in a problem. So you do multiplication and division in the order that you get to them as you move left to right in the problem. So sometimes, depending on how the problem's written, whichever one comes first, whichever one is to the left the most, just like Like when reading left to right, you do that one first. Sometimes it's going to be multiplication, sometimes it's going to be division. And addition and subtraction follows that same rule. You move through the problem from left to right as you see them. Okay, so there is a little summary of the order of operations.